morning. Welcome to Moms in the Zone. This episode, our guest is Sequin Owens, the mom of Chris Owens, number 79, Alabama offensive line, redshirt senior. Welcome, Sequin. How are you this afternoon?
I am alive. I am wonderfully blessed. I am good.
That is good. Yes. Well, thank you for being a guest with us today on this episode of Moms in the Zone. And so where we talk all things sports, all things from a mom perspective. So again, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Well, let's get right into it. The first thing that we like to do is tell us a little bit about you. So the viewers will know, who is Chris Owens' mom? Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I wear so many hats. I don't even know where to start. Right? Yeah. So, I am Christopher Owens' mom. I'm Sequin Owens. I am in my 40s. I am, for career-wise, I am a registered nurse. I have several degrees in nursing, so I'm an ICU nurse. I take care of critical patients. Okay. I know, right? So I take care of critical patients, and of course, Christopher is my only child, and so I just have the one, and when you get it right the first time, that's all you need. That one. Okay. That was all I needed.
I'll remember that.
That's a good one. I like that.
Yes, he was my my best piece of work, and so and outside of that, of course, I only have one brother, one sister. My parents are still in Louisiana. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. Okay. They still live there, and I am here in Dallas, Texas. And so I don't know how much more I can go on and on about myself.
What brought you to Texas?
Okay. So Christopher and I came from Hurricane Katrina. Okay. And so in 2005, August 2005, that was, this is 15 years now. We came to Texas, and Christopher had to be about 7. And we came right here to Dallas, Arlington. It's the DFW area. So they have like little subsets. And from here, Arlington was just a good place. We kind of landed here, and that's where we stayed. We couldn't go back to New Orleans. So I just raised Christopher here on my own. His dad went back to Louisiana. So I raised Christopher as a single parent here. And it was just me and my baby for years, and just me and him.
So did you know anyone in Arlington? Any family?
No. Well, I did. I knew one person, and when we were on the road, we were aimless. That storm was tragic, right? And we were just, I don't know if you all are familiar with like Interstate 20, but
yes,
we would. It was just drifting, and the phones didn't work. And one person got through and said, I don't care how you get here, just come to Arlington and we'll figure it out when you got here. So we were homeless. We didn't have a place to stay. We ate at the Mission. You name it, until we got semi-stable. For it's like a roof over our head, and that took a couple months. So it was a big struggle. And from there, those mother instincts kick in, right? Absolutely. Survival mode kicks in, right? So you don't think about you think about your child. I have this little boy who's dependent on me for everything. So I don't care what I got to do, we get it done, right? I got him in school because I wanted him to be stable. Children need stability. Right. We're going to stay in this apartment complex. We're not moving. We're not trying to find any place else. We're going to get somewhere and stay put, because you couldn't go back to Louisiana at that time. There were no schools available.
Okay.
So I initially put Christopher on, I figured if I was depressed, he had to be depressed.
Right.
He had to have some. He lost all his friends. Right. You got this little kid. He has no friends. We don't know anybody besides the kids at school. Christopher was a smart kid, never played sports, so I decided to put him on a sports team so he can have little boys to play with his own age. And then I realized that the quirky things that was working on my nerves, that they all did that at that age. I was like, oh,
right.
Okay, so they all do this. They all make that noise.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. They all do the quirky little stuff, right? They all do the quirky little.
They all. Yes.
I term it as so I'm the only female in the household, and I always say, you boys are just weird. You guys are just weird.
Weird. Christopher, stop talking like a baby. You're 6, you're 7. I mean, well, they all talk like that. They all just do the same things. And from there, we got to be that he had a group of friends, but then I realized he was good in sports. So I guess just to wrap up like that portion about me, just making sure he was stable made me do stuff that I didn't want to do when I was depressed. Right? I had to get up out the bed to bring him to school. That's what mothers do. Even when I didn't want to. I have to go and pick him up. I have to make sure he gets something to eat. And so he pushed me to get better.
Ooh, that's powerful.
Okay, chills.
That is chills. As a mother, I just felt that. I just felt that. I mean, because no one else is, this is why we're doing this. This is exactly you and Chris's testimony is the reason why Moms in the Zone exists. Because no one else is going to give you that platform to hear this story and the power in what you just said. I mean, only another mother can understand how even when life has just thrown us some curveballs and we don't want to get up and go. We look in our baby's eyes and we know they have to be clothed and they have to be fed no matter what. Our whole world could be coming down. But we're going to get up for those children. We're going to get up for those kids.
And that's the power. That's the power of motherhood, right? So
that's it.
Primal and it's instinctual, but that's the power of motherhood. Despite everything, you push through. You know what I mean?
Yes,
you push through.
You do. I don't know.
Let's talk about Chris. This is still. I want to.
Yes.
I need to be happy again. Okay.
Yes. So Chris,
I'm getting emotional. We're getting emotional.
So
we
from there,
we felt that.
Oh yeah.
So from there, he had this network of friends from football, and after football was over, then all of a sudden, okay, we're going to move on to basketball. Okay, now we have to play basketball too. Well, all of these kids play football and basketball and baseball, and they played everything. And so he had this network of friends that followed him from elementary school to middle school to high school, and that was great. That worked well for him. So he had a great childhood growing up, and sports became a big part of who he was. And it brought about discipline. It brought about, he's an A student. And I mean, here come the scholarships, and that's how we ends up at Alabama. Yay! Roll Tide.
Because I know my son, I mean, I call him my gentle giant. So what is Chris like?
Christopher, I say my prayers and I thank God for Christopher because I don't know how I got blessed with such a great kid. Yeah. He is the kid who reads the kids at school. He volunteered at the mission. He's yes ma'am, no ma'am. He's never been in a fight. He's never been in. He's a good individual. And I'm thinking, you my child. He's just a good kid. He's very smart. Very intuitive, very disciplined. When he came home for the 3 months that they were home, He did exactly what he was supposed to do. He likes to know exactly what he has to do so he can plan to get those things done.
He likes structure. He likes structure.
Structure. That's the perfect word for him.
Yeah.
It is truly one of the reasons why it is the reason why he chose to go to school where he went instead of going to other places, because he did not like the party atmosphere. He is homebody. He absolutely likes structure. He's a good kid. I love him to death. He graduated with his bachelor's last year. He's finishing up his master's next month.
Okay.
I know, right? He will have his master's next month, and it's in journalism. He likes to write.
Okay.
So we'll see where it takes him.
Look at that Black boy joy shine through.
Okay.
Yes.
The same thing, Shalonda. Just hear your story, that storm, but then God bless you with, this amazing, human being that brings you joy, so
I don't even know how we came out of that. I mean, it just you drift along, and then all of a sudden you look back and you go, we did pretty good here. We did pretty good here. I'm very anxious to see what
of a child.
Yes. He's very mild tempered. He does not get angry a lot. He's a really, really just a good individual. I think last year he won some sort of service award for the SEC. I mean, he's just a good kid.
That's amazing. Now I have a question for you. You mentioned about him being a student and being a good student. Talk a little bit about the importance of grades along this recruiting journey.
So, I know I started with Christopher when he was in middle school. I've always known that the road to anything is education. And so I made sure that if there was an opportunity for him to take an advanced class or any kind of class, AP class that you study, because that was kind of the our rule in the house, that extracurricular activities are just that, extracurricular, after you have your curriculum. And so after that, you're allowed to do everything that you want. So he always knew that if he wanted to play sports, then you have to do your homework first. And that carried over from year to year to year. And by the time he got to high school, he had finished a lot of his curriculum, which allotted him the time to focus on the extra stuff, the sports. And when you have good grades like that, especially as it relates to scholarships, when we go on our scholarship visits, they don't need to see you in your grades. We went to so many schools and they said, yeah, we're not worried about your grades. We already looked at your grades. So now we can focus on the other stuff.
That's it.
I think long gone are the days of I don't like to say dumb athlete, but it is very important for you to have the way sports are played these days. It's cerebral. And I think schools, along with professional teams, are looking for more cerebral minds as opposed to somebody that is just so athletic. Grades are very important. Christopher has been on the SEC honor roll almost every semester since he's been there at school. And I think if you do well in school, it takes the pressure off of you when you want to do other things.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's the gateway to everything else is my opinion. It's the gateway, because without the grades, you can't play the sports. You can't do the other extracurricular. You can't pledge. You can't, you can't. It all is based on the grades.
That's it.
I don't know if y'all remember, but a long time ago, they used to just say, oh, we don't worry about their grades. As long as they got some talent. And now
those days are long gone.
But what do you do when everybody has talent? There has to be a way to differentiate.
Right.
That's it.
And for me, and then just as a parent, I want Christopher to be able to have good grades so he can, now that he's gotten his degree, because after a while, sports are not going to be there. What are you going to do after sports?
That's it.
You know, and I'm just saying it because I'm an African American woman. At the end of the day, they can never take your education away from you.
Right.
And you have to be able to fall back on something. And that's really for anybody. Really for anybody, but more so, I mean, my Black boy, I need you to make sure that you have something to fall back on in the event that your sports don't work out for you.
And it opens up the options, like you said, you know, like you said, when sports is all done, you have to have something else to fall back on, because at some point you're going to transition into a career. And
into the real world, Yeah,
they're going to look at that transcript, you know, and they're going to look at your grades and your, I don't know, internships and things of that nature. And so, I mean, it all. But I think
that's fair. But you know, here again, I hate to say it as a mom, you have to be able to put that time into your kids when they're growing up. You can't just tell them that once they get to be a sophomore in college and you didn't plant that seed when they were younger. I mean, you kind of have to sit at the table and maybe do some of that homework we don't want to do, or we don't remember this new math.
Right. She knows about the new math too.
Everybody knows about the new math. Yes, the new math is something else.
No, I get it. We used to tell our boys, you know, our mantra in the house was, do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do.
Do what you want to do. That's right. Do mine too. Yes,
that was. They knew that saying.
It's important because a lot of student athletes today, they're so worried about the training, but if you get that scholarship offer, you have to be admitted into that school. You know, if you can't get
absolutely,
it doesn't matter that you were this, you know, phenomenal athlete.
That's right. You know, I didn't even realize that he had to be admitted into graduate school.
Absolutely,
because when he was home during the quarantine, he had to put in a whole application, and he was like, I'm waiting to be accepted. I said, you're right. What are your grades looking like? Because you can't just like fumble-dumble your way through your bachelor's and playing sports at the same time and think you're going to be able to get into graduate school. All of those things are important. And so, but I still believe if you plant that seed, like you said, when they're like in junior high and high school, then by the time they get to college, they know that, okay, I need to be on my game. I need to be able to study. I know how to study. I know how to ask for help when I get help, because they're not just giving out degrees free.
Right.
That's absolutely not happening. And one of the things that I always have with my son, and I tell my son, is that, you know what, they're going to use your talent and abilities on those football fields. You know, that is why they recruited you. That's why, you know, you have earned your scholarship, because they want your ability. So if they're going to use your ability, you darn sure need to, you know, use them to get that degree, because that's the goal. We're not here just to play football. We're here at the end of the journey is that you need to have a piece of paper in your hand that has your name, that university, and a degree attached to it. That's the goal. You know, anything that comes, you know, with that after the fact, hey, that's just additional. But keep the main thing, you know? And
I'm not gonna lie.
I think if we have, keep the main thing the main thing.
When I saw him get that bachelor's degree come in that mail, and I saw his name on that certificate, and it said, let it be known. That's right. Let it be known.
And you know what?
Degree.
I'm glad that you had mentioned about him having to apply to graduate school, because people out there just think, you know, things are given to athletes. They are working off in the classroom and on the, you know, nothing is given to them.
No, those athletes, and I know I'm preaching to the crowd, but for Christopher, I mean, you have to wake up early in the morning. You have workouts, you have practice, then you have meetings all day. And so between workouts, practice, and meetings, you gotta get that homework done.
Right. That's
you gotta get that homework done.
Stay eligible.
That's how you stay eligible. Exactly. You gotta get the homework done. And then you have to be able to have some semblance of a rest time, and then you start back over in the morning. So again, here's that routine thing again, right? And so if you get them disciplined and I say that because I really believe in my heart of hearts that when you have some sort of discipline with your kids when they're younger, by the time they get to be older adults or younger adults, they have to they know to buckle down, because I got to do those things in order to be able to succeed. And so nothing is given to those. I mean, yeah, you give me the opportunity to be here so I can express my talents, but I have to earn my degree. And once I earn this degree, if I want to go further, I got to do like everybody else. They don't just automatically get into graduate school. Christopher was on pins and needles waiting for the dean to call him back or to get something and said he was accepted. And I was like, okay, now you got to work to get the graduate degree.
Yeah,
I mean, along with staying eligible and competitive, right?
Right.
To make sure you get to a spot. All of that.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure on those young men.
It's a lot of pressure, and I'm glad that you're saying that, like Andrea said, because when people, one of my pet peeves is when I hear the word FREE attached to them. That, if you want to know how to upset me, say those words. Because I feel like, and again, I am a Black mother of Black boys, and I feel like the word free is used in a way to diminish them. As if
they don't deserve. That's right.
Exactly, like as if though they don't deserve this, or they didn't work for it. You didn't give them anything free. They earn every piece of sweat and workout and practice and training and nutrition and all of these things that they had to endure to be able to even be considered for a scholarship. Let's just go there first. Just to be considered, academics. You have to, and especially by the kids that are coming up after, I think for our 3 boys, the new NCAA guidelines where there was a, scale of the GPA along with the SAT and ACT scores. So there's no more to the school because you're a great athlete. No.
That's right. They did change that scale.
Whatever you got on that SAT or ACT, or vice versa, whatever you got on that ACT or SAT, we also need to have that GPA to go along with that. So I'm glad with the discussion, because a lot of people just believe that these kids are getting to school off of talent, and ability.
And they think they get them off of talent and a video that they send in their huddle. A video. They don't. You don't just get in anymore just because you look at his huddle. He may be a great athlete. But I know a lot of great athletes that they wouldn't even see them on the field until they went to the counselor's office at the high school.
That's it.
Then
and I
know
even great athletes didn't even get scholarships because of the grades,
Because of the grades.
Okay, so
here's a pro tip.
What's even more interesting than that is that, you talk about the athletes that have the scholarships, but at the end of the day, they still have to maintain those scholarships with the grades.
That's right.
I think that's what Derek is starting to see is, they've at FAMU, they've recruited some of these athletes, and these athletes kind of have this mentality that we've arrived and I don't have to go to class and I don't have to perform in the classroom. I don't have to show up to study tables. That I don't have to show up to the study halls and the study tables and things of that nature. And Derek's looking around like, you got to be kidding me, So
you get that. Go.
You still have to work for it. Like, okay, you've gotten the scholarship, you've been accepted to the university, you're on the team, but you still have work to do.
But now what? That's what it is.
Yeah, it's the now what.
That's
you still have to work for that scholarship because it can be taken away, or you can be benched, or whatever the scenario is. But it's not just, we secured the scholarship. I can flaunt around with my T-shirt and everything's good. You still have to maintain that.
There is here's a pro tip for any of the moms, I'm sure that's going to be listening to this. You get the scholarship, right? But I kind of knew this, but I don't know if a lot of moms know this. I mean, you all know it for sure. You get the scholarship based on your GPA while you're in a junior. But that means that's accumulated from your 9th and 10th grade year, right? Because by the time you get to your junior year in high school, they're already offering you. So you can't just get to your junior year and decide, let me clean my act up, right? Because if your grades, if your grades are not where they're supposed to be by your junior year, you're struggling to maybe even make an SAT score or ACT score or even have the GPA to even qualify to have somebody offer you a scholarship. You have to start. So if there's any parents out there of high school kids, you kind of need to start making sure that their grades are on point earlier in the high school. If not, I don't know what kind of scholarship you think you're going to secure in the senior year if your grades aren't where they're supposed to be prior to that senior year.
And that is so important, because I know a lot of schools during the recruiting process, when you go on your visit, or if they come to your school and they meet with you or your son, or if you go to the visit, they'll tell you, you're here because we've already did our, background check, basically. We've already done our background check. So we already know if you could even potentially get in, because there's no reason for us to even take the time, and I hate to say waste our time, but that's essentially what it would be, is to waste their time when they look at your transcript and you got a 1.5 in high school. They can't even get you in, because as Andrea said,
they can't even get you in.
You still have to be admitted to the school. You still have to have the GPA, even though you're an athlete. You have to be admitted
from the 9th and the 10th grade. So you can't just fluff those years off and decide that you're going to be a great athlete, and now in your junior year, how are you going to make up for those 2 years when you you can,
and that's why JUCO exists. A lot of
kids, that's right.
And let's just keep it 100. I heard a high school coach one time that was trying to get my son to go to his high school, and he was talking about all these different players, and he mentioned about one particular player who was a star athlete but could not get a scholarship because he didn't have the academics, and so he had to go to a JUCO. And I said, shame on you. And in that moment, I knew my kid wasn't going to go to that high school, because you telling me this, and you're the coach. So shame on you.
And you know that.
You're the coach. So shame on you as the coach for not staying on top of your students and talking to their parents and creating that team of support for that child, because you failed them.
Especially, when you know better.
The parents failed them. The academic counselors failed them. So it was a total failure throughout the whole system, But I guarantee on Friday nights, he was the guy that you were going to make all the touchdowns and make the scores and make your school look good. So it was a total failure. And so that's what we have to have, is these intentional conversations with our student athletes, male or female, letting them know the importance of grades, letting them know these schools are going to use your talent and your ability athletically. You better get in there and do the academics. And at the end of the 4 years, and if you're blessed enough to do it in 3 and 3.5, get that degree. Because once they get your talent and you're injured or something,
that's it.
They're done with you.
It's done.
Next man up. Next man up.
That's why they have a depth chart, right? That's why they have a depth chart.
I made sure that Christopher started early, like I said, made sure he had his grades, and that way that part was not a conversation. And we had, and then with your GPAs, it depends on what school you're trying to get into. Schools like Vanderbilt or Stanford or some of those other schools, if you don't have the right GPA, you can't even get into those schools, like you said, to be admitted. Christopher got admitted to every school he applied for. And so, and like you said, got his bachelor's in 3.5 years. And now we're working on master's. That part is important. I'm glad that we sacrificed for it, because now I'm thinking, okay, I'll reap this reward. Okay, I'm good with this.
It's good. It's good that moms know that, and that moms can stress that to their athletes. Day one of high school, every grade counts. That's what I used to tell my kids. Every test, every quiz, because it all accumulates to something.
Yes.
Like I said, I used to tell my boys all the time, every grade counts. Every grade counts. And what do you do when you have that class where you don't have homework? All you have is a midterm and a final. What do you do?
Right.
And then, when you have a low GPA, I'm speaking from experience, because I went through my phase through college. That's the hardest thing to get up.
It's the hardest thing to get up. Yes.
It's hard, you know what I mean? And just have it. It's hard to raise your GPA if you get it so much. really
That's
is.
why I
It's
made
easy
that
to
point.
tank it. It's easy to tank
It's
it,
easy to
boy, but
tank.
it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I was
girl.
like,
It's easy to
by the
tank
time
that
you're
thing,
your
but it's
junior,
hard to
you're
get
going
back up.
you're going into your junior year, and you're sitting at a 1.9.
Possible.
How do you get that up by your junior year, and then even think about your senior year? 'Cause I'm pretty sure all of your kids started having scholarship offers in their junior year going into. By the time they make it to senior year, they're probably deciding where they want to go. How do you make up a 1.9?
Well, you know, the thing about it now is
that's so hard.
It's so competitive. The landscape is so competitive because now the scale has changed, right? So it's not just a 4.0 scale, it's a 5.0 scale. 5.0 scale.
It's a 5.0 now?
Well, we have that in Indiana. So, you know, it depends
on
those
AP classes.
Yeah, it's the AP classes.
AP classes or those gifted classes.
If you're talking athletics, that's one thing, and then if you're talking academics, that's a whole different thing. I mean, it's competitive all the way around. So what used to be a good 3.3, 3.5 is kind of like from a scholarship perspective, you got to come out the gate with like a 4 something.
That's right.
Which is, I mean, every kid's not on that level, right? So
every kid's
and we don't on that level
because every kid is not on that level.
Yeah, every kid's not on that level. But it just goes to prove that you really have to stress the grades because it's just so competitive, either from an academic or sports perspective. It's very competitive.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to know,
I think
as a parent, as a mother, you have to put the work in. That's just it. Nothing comes easy to any of these athletes. They're student athletes. And nothing is easy. You have to put the work in on both sides. That's just it.
Both sides. That's it. And that's the thing that I think too, you know, that, you know, as we have this conversation, to let parents know, every student athlete is not going to be a 4.0 student athlete. That's not what we're saying. We're just saying that you have to have that conversation early on. And if your kid's very best and they are a C average student, they can still get into some universities.
Yes, they can.
If that's their very best and they're working towards it and they're, you know, getting the necessary help and that's their very best is C average, hey, make sure that they do well on the SAT and the ACT.
That's right. That's right.
That if you're a C average every day in the classroom, okay, let's try to take the SAT not once, but not twice, but as many times, because, you know, it takes the higher score. So it, you know, it kind of balances out. So, you know, those are the type of things that we want to share with parents is that don't get discouraged. Take as many opportunities for your kid to take those SATs and ACT to max it out so that they can get those scores in line because they take the highest of each one in that category. So those are the type of things that we want to share. And I think as our listeners hear, you know, the different interviews, they're going to have so much more than what the 4 of us had. No one told us this. So
nobody told me nothing.
That's the next thing I want to go into. Like, you know, like we just don't know. We didn't know what we didn't know. So let's talk about
you know nothing. I know I didn't know nothing. Christopher, we never argue. We just don't argue about anything. But we had our very first argument over scholarships. And because I didn't know. He was going to these camps that they would have at high school, like 360 camps or whatever those camps are. I was like, what are these camps? I did not know that those camps fed into what recruiters looked at in order to give your child a grade. Those stars that follow up behind their name, you know, or the invitation to the next camp. And when you don't know, I'm like, Christopher, bring me my car. I don't know what you're doing. You've been gone for hours. Mom, I'm still at the camp. Like, Christopher, bring me my car. I don't know what camp, whatever this is, right? Not realizing, the boy is at this camp that's eventually going to lead him to get invited to another one so he can be seen. And this is how they grade him, because that same camp is now, when you pull up his name on Google, they got pictures from that camp. And I go, right. You don't know about, I didn't know about the camp. And then when the scholarships started coming in, I was like, well, I want you to go here. Well, I don't want to go there. I want you to go here. Well, how do we decide? Nobody told us anything. And so that was rough going through that whole recruiting process. And my son was stressed. And I had never seen him stressed before. Yeah. It's a stressful process. You have all of these people tugging at you. They're contacting you, contacting me. You still have to go to high school. You don't know how to make the decision. You don't know what's important. And they're looking at you for guidance. And if you don't know, how do you guide them?
Right.
I had no idea.
So did he have other male figures to kind of talk to, or coaches, or uncles, or just other male figures to kind of bounce the ideas around?
So the good thing with Christopher is that so Christopher and his dad and I were married, and when we divorced after the storm. So that storm took a toll on just our relationship as a whole, as man and woman. And so, but I was smart enough to know that boys need, in my case, I wanted him to have a great relationship with his father, because I felt like he needed that, because I just wanted that. So no matter what, I don't care where daddy is, daddy gonna be your daddy. And so he had a great relationship with his daddy, and I never stood in the way of any of that. Never spoke a bad word, because I wanted that relationship between the two of them to succeed. That was long distance, but they were still to this day are very, very tight. But while we lived in Dallas, it was his basketball coaches from AAU, because he played basketball too. That he was very close to, that he was able to have an outlet with when it came down to recruiting. And I would call one of his basketball coaches and I would say, Roscoe, listen, I need you to talk to him, because if not, somebody in this house ain't gonna make it. It ain't gonna be me. You gotta tell me
what the conversation. I'm sorry. I mean, like, especially with those boys, sometimes
I know I said that.
Somebody needs to talk to them, because somebody not gonna be here.
No, because for me, I know that I'm raising a young man. I know that I'm raising somebody who's going to be somebody's husband, and I never raised my voice or talked down to him, right? Because he needs to know who he is and who he's supposed to be. And so I handled him like he was a gentleman, for sure. And so before I used profanity or called him out his name or disrespected him as an individual, I called one of his coaches and said, okay, now, you need to talk to him.
You gotta come and get him.
Listen, I got to study for an exam. I'm already stressed out. I got these coaches. I got this exam coming up. Something need to happen. I'm going to send him over there for the weekend, and you have a conversation with him, and he will come back, bring him back with his head straight. And if it ain't straight, don't bring him back. You know? But yeah, that whole recruiting process brought about a whole bunch of stress.
It's very stressful.
Very, very stressful.
But like Shalonda was saying, I'm so glad that you tapped into that village. And I don't think coaches realize the impact or influence that they have. You know, that they need to be that here for some of these young men, you know.
Especially when you're dealing with my Black boy young man, right? Especially when you're dealing with that, especially if he didn't have his father in the home, right? He can call his father on the phone, but he wasn't in the home. I needed somebody to be there that that I know he respected, right? I personally, I didn't do a lot of dating because I wanted to make sure that Christopher had structure. And so, but I wanted to make sure that he had somebody to talk to as well. And so coaches, his basketball coaches absolutely played a huge part in him being, making decisions knowing things that he needed to know as a young man, of how to handle himself, how to express himself. And that whole village thing, it was a village. It was, because it couldn't be just mama.
Yeah.
It couldn't be just mama.
Yeah. Right,
it definitely rings true. It definitely rings true. You know, with Derek, he didn't get a scholarship offer, but he had to make a choice between universities and just try to figure out where he wanted to go. And it was stressful for him. And, you know, there was only so much that he wanted to talk about with his parents. You know, even with his dad, you know, I think it just got to a point of, okay, I'm just tired of hearing from my parents, period. So
I want to hear my mama
him,
talking.
Yeah, because it just, it's just noise at some point. So it was good for him to be able to talk to the other people in our village that knew him growing up, and he could bounce those ideas off of. And, you know, it wasn't the advice from his parents, it was from somebody else's perspective, and he was able to receive
even
that.
If it was the same advice, how many times he do that?
Exactly.
I just told you the same doggone thing, so now you're gonna believe him and you ain't gonna believe me.
They hear it so
it wasn't coming.
Someone else.
It wasn't coming from us. It wasn't coming from us. It was coming from somebody else.
Yeah.
So,
but that goes back. That goes back to what you said about having someone that they respect too. And I think, you know, as we all speak, and what everyone has said is a little bit of it all, you know, of what Andrea said, is that as those coaches knowing how important they are to this kid's journey, to their athlete's journey.
Yes.
You know, and it's also that village that Shalanda's talking about, is that I think if coaches, and this just came to me right now, if coaches start thinking of themselves as part of their athlete's village, that's the thing. The coaches have to start thinking of themselves as part of that village. And because when they start thinking of that, this kid is just not number 79, you know, this kid is not just number 30 or number 55. This kid is just not a number. This kid is somebody, you know? And so when they start thinking that, you know, about, hey, I'm part of this kid's village. And I always come back, I always say this, a coach has two things along this journey to help a student athlete navigate. The way they carry themselves and how they talk to their athletes. They could either be a dream builder or a dream buster. And coaches have to start asking themselves, which side do I want to be on? Do I want to help this young man or woman build a dream, or do I want to come in and I want to, take all the dreams that they have away about how I interact with them? Is it just going to be X's and O's, and it's just totally a transaction for me? Or am I really trying to build relationship with my athletes? And I think that makes the difference. And, you know, I think a lot of times, a lot of coaches are just about the X's and O's. And like you said, those coaches that knew Chris's situation at home, and even though he had a great relationship with his father wasn't in the home, you know? But how many coaches, don't, take the time to really learn that? His basketball coaches did, but how many coaches really take the time to know about the kid's personal life, to see what's going on, to see what the need of the mother is? You guys coming out of Hurricane Katrina as he got older, but the effects of that still linger in some ways.
Yes. What it was some of his basketball coaches that bought some of his football stuff. You know?
Wow.
That struggle, like you said, that whole village thing. It was some of his basketball coaches who says, okay, no, mama, I got it. Don't worry about this school clothes. You know, that whole, we needed that. And so I don't even think of them. You started thinking of them as family after a while. You're like, okay,
they're your family.
Yeah.
I think this is a good segue to start entering the zone. And Sequin, this is the time in the show when we say, okay, Mom, you are now entering the zone. And so during this time, it just gives you a platform to kind of share with another mother. What would be the most important thing that you would share with another mother during this time?
Listen to your kids. Absolutely. The older they get, they absolutely have minds and opinions. And especially, I don't know if you're raising a boy or a girl, right? But especially as it relates to a boy, girls too, you have to hear them, and we can't push what we want onto them, right? That means our decisions about school, our decisions about where they should go to school. I mean, they respect them, have a conversation with them, and then don't condemn them for their decisions as it relates to. We already talked about discipline, right? I think that just plays a huge part. You have to have boundaries. I think kids eventually, I think they respect boundaries. I think they look for discipline. And when you provide that at a younger age, it will carry over when they're 22 and 23 years old, because they've already established some things when they were younger that now they just revert back to. I think as it relates to like scholarships and, you know, trying to pick a school, that's a very difficult thing to do, because they're becoming young men and young women, you know, and they're thinking about leaving home. It's very stressful when they're being recruited, but eventually they have to pick what's most important to them. And, you know, you have to be able to decide where, you know, they have to decide where they want to go. And if you, if you don't realize that they're stressed about that, eventually it's going to backfire on you, right? I don't know, like, which avenue you want me to take as it relates to the child, or as it relates to academics or schools or tips, or, but in the zone, listen, we, at the end of the day, mama's got to get it done. And you, those kids, those boys, I can only speak about a boy. They look to you as gold. You are the, at the end of the day, you're going to be the person that they look to rely on. And they look for you to be level-headed and stable and not selfish. They look to you for all of those things. And so just be there. Be present. Be in the moment. Be in the zone.
I love that. I love it. Yeah, be in the zone with your babies. I love it.
That's right. That's right.
We always talk about being an advocate. So that's about being in the zone and being present. You just hit the nail on the head. That is it. Be in that zone at all times. That's it.
I love hearing your background and your story, because so we have this saying about just being, we're just moms, and we're just authentic moms. And I don't even know how another way to say it, but your journey and your story is truly, truly just being authentically you, and that's just being a mom. And just doing what you need to do to make sure that your son is safe and secure and gets to the next level, that he thrives. And so that's just part of just being an authentic mom. Like, we just do what we do, and we don't even think about it. We don't even think about it.
And they're watching it. They are, I don't know if we're wrapping up or not, but listen, I want to say this. They are watching you. They are paying attention to you, and what you do. Do not be surprised if you see them doing the same thing. I know Christopher picked up all his study habits from me, you know, the way he studied, the way I studied. I put myself through nursing school raising him, right? During his basketball games and football games, I'm sitting there with the book. So now he knows, you know, they watch you. They absolutely watch you. Like I say, be present with your kids. And at the end of the day, you'll come out to the other side and you're like, okay, I didn't do too bad of a job here.
And I did all right. That's it. I love it. And you know, this is why this show exists, to showcase the journey and how you navigated that. There's no other platform out there that is going to have these, you know, authentic, organic conversation with moms and just say, hey, tell us about the journey. How did you get from Hurricane Katrina? That is powerful in itself.
That is
to Texas and to Alabama. I mean, so I just want to say to you, Sequin, this has just been an amazing, you know, opportunity for us, Moms in the Zone, just to speak to you, your journey, you know, the wonderful young man that you have raised in Christopher. So we just thank you for just giving us a little bit, you know, of your time today. And thank you for being a guest on Moms in the Zone.
Yes,
it's so empowering. It's definitely empowering. Yeah.
And that's our platform. We want to empower, encourage, and inform other moms. And, you know, they can take away from what you just gave, girl. This is amazing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me in the zone. I appreciate it, ladies. Listen, whenever y'all need somebody to talk a jab, I am here. Let me know. I'm waiting on the next thing, honey. I'm sure I got more that I can talk about. So whenever, just hit me up. Let me know.
Absolutely.
Good.
Okay. Yvette, did you want to close this out?
Yes. Well, thank you for, you know, all the viewers and listeners today on this episode of Mom in the Zones. We want to thank Miss Sequin Owens and just, you know, telling us her journey and her story with Christopher. And so until next time, we'll thank you again, and we'll see you on the zone on the next episode.